Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. We haven't talked about Brexit in a while, and it's definitely one of those stories that has slipped by the wayside because 2020 has just been that kind of year. But it is important to talk about it, especially in 2020, because their deadline for a hard Brexit is coming up very soon, and it's going to affect a lot of Brits. Now, I don't want to do the whole sum up of Brexit and its history. There's other better YouTube videos for that. But what I want to touch on that is getting lost in the noise of the American election, the pandemic, people struggling with poverty and the struggles against capitalism, and now it's the Christmas season, so everyone's trying to get all this joy and wonder and happiness going again. Here's the problem with ignoring the Brexit story. The United Kingdom is one of the major global economies. In fact, for many, especially in what we would call the third world, the developing world, newly industrialized, whichever term you choose to relate to the global south, like that general idea, Britain is in most cases their point of economic entry into the European market because of past British expertise in banking and industry because of the British Empire. So London has always been nearly as equal an important financial center as New York City. And what happens with a hard Brexit that cuts off all benefits and actual, smooth negotiations and access between markets from Britain and the rest of mainland continental Europe, if that is lost, that is another cut to the British economy, as well as the global order of things. Now, if you don't like a global order, on the one hand, yay, great. The problem is that in this case, where does it go? Because either it stays in Britain and is severely reduced, or it goes somewhere else, like, I don't know, Frankfurt, Germany, perhaps. Paris, I really don't know, and quite frankly, I don't care. I care about the Brits who have been completely just abused by their rulers in this case, because while many barely voted for Brexit, the follow-up never came through of, do you want a hard or a soft Brexit? And instead what's happening is a hard Brexit. And as more details come out, more and more Brits are horrified at what this actually means for them and their economies and their local shops, their availabilities, their opportunities for travel, etc. And then on top of that, in a pandemic year led by the eternal buffoon Boris Johnson, this is going to be a problem for a lot of Brits, not just because of what would likely be for at least a while a lower standard of living. This would likely push even more Brits into poverty than the pandemic already has. And on top of that, this issue is complicated by issues across the Irish Channel or the Irish Sea, where you have Ireland and North Ireland, where part of what allowed them to finally be at peace was to have an open border policy and the free movement of people and goods between them. A hard Brexit will challenge that, and no one really wants the Troubles to return. At least no one really sensible who cares about human life. Both parties found a way to work this out before, but right now it's getting lost behind everything else. There's always this call of Brexit means Brexit. Well, yes, but you didn't determine what kind of Brexit. And also, is Brexit going to be worth the breakup of the UK? Because aside from the troubles over in Ireland, or the potential troubles that could arise, there's also the fact that Scotland voted overwhelmingly to remain in the European Union. And when they last had their independence referendum a few years ago, they remained as part of the UK on the promise that they would still be part of the EU. So now Scotland once again wants another referendum, but the people in Westminster don't want to give it to them, claiming it's a once in a generation kind of thing. So Britain currently sits on the precipice of a very terrible course of action, depending on how people act, or rather fail to act. And that bothers me because that is a major component of the global economy, which, again, thanks capitalism, has tied everything together, right? So if Britain collapses, that affects the stock market and economic access and opportunity everywhere. That messes with banks, stocks, people's livelihoods, employment, access to economies, economic stimulus, funding, all these different things that people like and enjoy becomes under threat with the British leaving the European Union. But no one talks about that, or that we could actually be witnessing the potential beginnings of the breakup of the UK, which would be yet another political crisis in Europe, which is already managing and juggling like 20 different crises right now. It is another dash to the global order that hurts a lot more people as it goes on and pushes more people into poverty in a pandemic. And the fact that we really aren't recognizing this or talking about this, despite it coming up very quickly and could have very real repercussions on all of us around the world, is definitely what's bothering me today.